Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. On today's video tutorial, guys, we are going to be tackling electricity tariffs, right? And when it comes to electricity tariffs, guys, you need to be aware that electricity tariffs can be calculated using a flat rate. And they can also be calculated using the sliding scale, right? So we are all familiar with the sliding scale method at this point. If you've been following with me with my water tariffs video tutorials, so we are aware what the sliding scale method entails, right? So let me just do a quick recap of what the flat rate method is, right? And if you also want another example or an example where I basically tackled an electricity tariffs questions basically using the flat rate, then please have a look at this video tutorial. It'll be great for you guys to basically practice electricity tariff questions that involve a flat rate. Okay, but in this video tutorial, guys, I'll be focusing on electricity tariff questions that deal with your sliding scale. All right, but let me just do a quick recap so that you guys know what the flat rate is if you didn't. Okay, but before I even just do that quick recap, guys, we know when we are doing electricity tariffs, we are calculating the amount that you will pay towards your electricity bill at the end of the month, right? That is basically what we all are doing, okay? And when it comes to electricity tariffs, guys, especially when it comes to your sliding scale method, the point is, like I mentioned in your water tariffs, if you consume more electricity, you pay more, right? So the whole point of basically the sliding scale method is to discourage our consumers from using a lot of electricity, okay? But let's just quickly do a recap of what the flat rate method is, okay? So let's say in your household, right, you basically consumed 560 kilowatt hours worth of electricity, right? And you are basically using a prepaid meter system, okay? So now from that 560 kilowatt hours, right, you are basically given a flat rate that is 0.566 rands per kilowatt hour used, right? So what does this mean? For 1 kilowatt hour that you use of electricity, you are going to pay 0.566 rand. Okay, so how would you basically calculate the total cost that you'll pay towards your electricity bill at the end of the month if you are now using this prepaid meter system that basically charges you 0.566 per kilowatt hours of electricity that you use? You would just basically take that 560 kilowatt hours and you would multiply it with 0.566 per kilowatt hour used. All right. And if you basically punch this into your calculator, you will get 316 rand and 96 cents. Okay. So this household would basically pay 316 rand and 96 cents towards the electricity bill at the end of the month, right? So this is basically a flat rate, okay? It doesn't change. It is fixed, okay? Irregardless of how much electricity that you use, okay? In today's video tutorial, guys, we are going to be looking at electricity tariff questions where you are going to be using the sliding scale method, okay? So as you can see, from the slide that I've basically just put on the screen right now, we're going to be looking at a question like this, right? We have block 1, block 2, block 3, and block 4. And in all these blocks, we've got different intervals of electricity units that are used, and in all those blocks, we've got a particular tariff that is basically charged per kilowatt hours of units that is used, right? So I'm going to be explaining how we tackle an electricity tariff question that uses the sliding scale method, okay? But if you basically understood the water tariff explanations, this one is just going to be a breeze. It's going to be like we're just doing a recap because you basically apply the same concept here. Okay, so before you get started with today's video tutorial, guys, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you click on that notification bell so that you get notified every single time I upload a new video tutorial, guys. And also, please don't forget to give this video tutorial a huge thumbs up because that really helps the channel grow and it helps the channel to reach more learners that wanna better their mathematics marks. So without any further ado, guys, let's get started with today's video tutorial. So we are given a table here that shows electricity tariffs for residential consumption, okay? And we are told that all the tariffs here, right, are 15% VAT exclusive, okay? So VAT hasn't been included in all of these tariffs that are given here, okay? So remember, when we are basically tackling question, guys, the first thing you need to do, you need to be aware of how many kilowatt hours of electricity is consumed, right? As you are basically working through all the blocks, okay? Second thing, you need to make sure that the amount or the kilowatt hours of electricity used adds up to how much kilowatt hours you've basically calculated in the different steps. Once you've basically figured that out, you basically need to multiply the units in each block with the tariff, and then you just add it, and then that is basically that. Okay, so that is basically the approach that we're going to use. The same approach to the water tariff system, right? Okay, basically figure out how many kilowatts of electricity are used in each block. Once you figured that out, then you basically multiply the units of electricity with the tariff, okay, in that block, and then all you need to do is you need to basically add it up to get how much you need to pay towards electricity. Okay, so let's just tackle that question or this question together. How much would a family pay towards the electricity bill if they consumed 600 kilowatt hours of electricity? Okay, so we are being asked here, if a family uses 600 kilowatt hours of electricity, how much would they pay towards the electricity bill, right? So let's basically tackle this question together and see how much this family will basically pay. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, guys, we know that this family has used how many kilowatt hours of electricity? This family has used 600, okay, kilowatt hours of electricity. So as we go through our blocks here, we need to always remember that we need to have a maximum of 600 kilowatt hours when we add up all the units in our blocks. Okay, so what is the maximum amount of units that can be consumed in the first block? It is 50 kilowatts hours of units. What is the maximum amount of units that can be consumed in the second block, guys? Or what do? We just take your 350 and you minus it with the 50. It is 300 kilowatt hours. Right, so basically at this point, if you add 50 kilowatt hours and you add 300 kilowatt hours, you've got 350 kilowatt hours of electricity. However, guys, we need 600 kilowatt hours. Okay, so we need to basically continue, right? In the third block, what is the maximum amount of units that you can consume here? So it's going to be 600 minus 350, it's going to be 250 kilowatt hours. And then, guys, what do we notice? If you add up all these units of electricity, right, we'll see that 50 plus 300 plus 250 gives us 600 kilowatt hours of electricity, right? So now we've calculated the number of units that are used in each block. So all that we basically need to do now is basically check to see if the number of units add up to the amount of electricity that this family uses, right? And it does, because the family uses 600 kilowatts hours of electricity, and when we add up 50 plus 300 plus 250, it adds up to 600. So we're fine. So all we need to do now is we need to take the units of electricity that is consumed, and you need to multiply it with the tariff, okay, that is basically charged. Okay, so let us do that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to say 50 kilowatt hours multiplied by 0.9015. Guys, very, very important. When you are multiplying your electricity units with your tariffs, okay, very important, guys, do not do any rounding off. Do not round off your tariff. Do not say 50 multiplied by 0.90. You do not round it off. You use your tariff as it is. So it's going to be 50 multiplied by 0.9015. 300 multiplied by 1.0161. 250 multiplied by 1.3594. Okay, you do not round it off. You're only going to then round off either your final answer or your answers that you get as you are going along. Okay, so let's just do that, guys. Let's just multiply these units with the tariffs in each block. All right, so in the first block, it's 50 kilowatt hours multiplied by 0.9015 per kilowatt hours, guys. Quickly, what does this mean? Okay, what does this mean? All we're doing, guys, we know that 50 kilowatt hours, you're multiplying it, right? You can write that as 50 over 1. You're multiplying it by 0.9015 per kilowatt hours, right? So this is basically what I'm writing down there. We see that these units cancel and you'll be left with the units in what? Rand, okay? So if you take your 50 and you multiply it with 0.9015, you will get 45 Rand and 0.75 cents. Okay, so this is basically just an additional note so that you understand why I'm writing it like that, so that you don't get confused. All right, what does it mean? Okay, what does it mean when I write 50 kilowatt hours multiplied by 0.9015 per kilowatt? That is what is going on there. Okay, so let me just continue, guys. Then we say in block 2, it's going to be 300 kilowatt hours multiplied by 1.0161 per kilowatt hours. Okay, if you punch that into your calculator, you'll find that you get 304 Rand point 83 cents. Okay, then we go on to block 3. Okay, in block 3, it's 250 kilowatt hours, and you're gonna multiply it by how much? 1.3594 per kilowatt hours. If you punch that into your calculator, you'll get 339.85 cents. Okay, so now, guys, we are not done, right? We've just calculated how much you will pay towards electricity in each block. What we need to do now is we need to add up all these amounts to get what the total cost then would be for an electricity bill of 600 kilowatt hours. So all that we need to do, therefore, the total cost, guys, please note, this is the total cost excluding the 15% VAT. Okay, so VAT hasn't been included. Okay, so the total cost excluding the VAT, right, is, okay, and then, guys, quickly, you can actually just round this off. Okay, but always pay attention to the instructions that are given to you guys in your test. If they say that you need to round off each answer to 2 decimal places, or if they say that you need to round off the final answer, that's what you need to do. But for me, guys, I'm just going to round off my final answer. So for now, I'm just going to keep the answers as they are, and then I'm just going to round off my final answer. But actually, I'm not going to keep the answers as they are. Because these two are in 2 decimal places, I'm just going to also round this off to 2 decimal places. So it's going to be 45.08. Okay, so I'm going to be now adding all these values together to get what the total electricity tariff is going to be. So 45.08 plus 304.83 plus 339.85. Okay, so if you punch this into your calculator, you'll find that the total cost excluding VAT is equal to 689.76. Okay, so that is the total cost that this family will need to pay excluding VAT. Okay, so that's basically the approach. Okay, I was just giving you guys the approach that you basically need to use when you're analyzing these type of questions. Let's just move on to the next question. Question number 1, right? So that was just basically me helping you guys with the approach of the question. So now let's just dive into the questions. Let's just look at these questions, okay? Determine the number of kilowatt hours in block 1 and in block 2, right? So what is the amount of kilowatt hours, right? Or the maximum amount of kilowatt hours that you can use in block 1 and in block 2. Guys, we've already calculated this. The maximum kilowatt hours or units of electricity that you can use in block 1 is 50, and the maximum units of electricity that you can use in block 2 is 300, right? So we're just going to write that down. All right, so the maximum amount of units that you can use in block 1 is 50 kilowatt hours, and the maximum amount of units that you can use in block 2 is 350 minus 50 kilowatt hours, and which will give you 300. Okay, let us go on to the next question. Let's have a look at this question, guys. Quickly take a picture of it. Cool stuff, right? So we're going to analyze this question together. It says that we need to calculate the VAT inclusive amount to be paid for the consumption of 400 kilowatt hours of electricity. So in this case, we are calculating what the amount will be, including the VAT, okay, for the consumption of 400 kilowatt hours of electricity. So guys, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to calculate how much you would pay, excluding your 15% VAT, right, for the 400 kilowatt hours of electricity. After we've done that, guys, all we're going to do is we're going to just add our 15% VAT and we are done. Okay, so try this out on your own. First, calculate how much you would pay for the 400 kilowatt hours of electricity excluding VAT. Remember, this table that was given to us excludes what? Our VAT. Okay, so let's first calculate how much you would pay. And then, once we've got how much you'd pay for the 400 kilowatt hours of electricity excluding VAT, we are going to add our 15% VAT. Okay, so let's do that, guys. So we need to now obviously take into consideration that we are calculating how much we would pay for using 400 kilowatt hours of electricity in this case, right? So we're not calculating how much we'd pay for 600, but we're calculating now how much we would pay for 400. Okay, so we need to make sure that in the steps we basically account for only 400 kilowatt hours of electricity. Okay, so what do we know now? We know in the first step, the maximum is going to be 50 kilowatt hours. So that's fine. In the second step, guys, we said that it's going to be 300 kilowatt hours as your maximum. Okay, so already we've got how many kilowatt hours of electricity now? 50 plus 300 is 350. Okay, but we need 400. So we need to continue, right? In the third step, the maximum amount of electricity in the third step is 250, but we do not need that 250. We only need 50 to get us to 40. So it'll just be 50 kilowatt hours in this case. Okay, so in this case, right? We're not going to use the full 250 like we did in the previous example that I did with you guys. We're only going to use the 50 because when we add up all these units, they need to take us to 400 kilowatt hours of electricity. Okay. So once we've basically established the amount of units that we're going to take in each block, all that we need to do, we're going to take the units, we're going to multiply it with the tariff, take the units, multiply with the tariff, take the 50, multiply with the tariff, right, to get the amount, and then we add up all the amounts together to get what the total is going to be, excluding VAT. So VAT is not included yet. And then once we've got that, then we're going to include that 15% VAT using that magical method that I've taught you guys on the water tariffs video. Okay, let's go. Let's calculate how much you would pay, right? So we know in block 1, I'm just going to say block 1, we know it's going to be 50 kilowatt hours multiplied by 0.9015 per kilowatt hours, right? We already know what that is, guys, because we already calculated it. It's 45.08. I've already rounded it off, guys. You know it was 45.075. Okay, but now I'm rounding it off to 2 decimal places, hence 45.08. Let's go into the next block. The next block, guys, we know that it's 300 kilowatt hours multiplied by 1.0161 per kilowatt hours. Easy. We already did this one as well, guys. It is 304.83. And in the last block, we said that we only taking 50 kilowatt hours and not the full 250. Okay, because we only used the 50 in this block. Guys, this part here is very important. Okay, very, very, very important. This is where most learners probably get it wrong. Okay, so we only just take the 50 kilowatts, right? And you multiply it by the amount of tariff that is charged in that block, which is 1.3594 per kilowatt hours. And if you punch that into your calculator, you'll get 67.97. All right. So all that we need to do now, guys, we just need to add up all these amounts to get what the total cost will be. So the total cost, excluding your VAT, right? Your VAT, which is 15%, is equal to 45.08 plus 304.83 plus 67.97. Okay, if you punch that into your calculator, you'll get that it gives you 417.85. Okay, so the total cost that you would pay for the consumption of 400 kilowatt hours of electricity is going to be 417 rand and 85 cents. However, guys, we are not done. We need to get what the total cost is going to be, including VAT. So now we need to include that 15% VAT. Remember, guys, I gave you this amazing method that you guys need to remember, okay, which says that amount including VAT is equal to 115%, okay? We know your VAT amount is equal to your 15%. The amount excluding VAT is going to be the 115% minus the 15%, which is going to give you 100%. Okay, this method, guys, is very important because they throw this question in all the time. Okay, so you need to be able to just remember how you can apply or use this method. So it always just needs to be at the back of your head. But I prefer using also just this method, right? Because it's going to be quicker and it takes you straight to your solution. All we do with this method, guys, we just take your amount of 417.88, okay? Then you multiply it by, what do you want, guys? You want your amount that includes your VAT, okay? So it's going to be, you multiply it by 115%, okay? What do you want? Okay? You multiply it by what you want and you divide it by what you have. What do we have, guys? You've got an amount that is excluding your VAT. So it's going to be 100%. Okay? And when you punch this into your calculator, guys, what do you get? You'll get 480.562. Okay? So I prefer you guys always just using this method. Okay, what do you want? What do you have? And we found that the amount that now includes our 15% VAT is 480.56. And if we can just round that off to 2 decimal places, it's going to be 480.56. Okay, so that is basically it. Okay, so just a quick recap of what we did, guys. I went through the approach with you guys that when you're obviously dealing with electricity tariffs, using the sliding scale, you basically use the same approach that we used when we were working with our water tariffs. Okay, you always need to remember or take into account how many units of electricity have you used when you are calculating the amounts or the units in each block, right? Once you've basically determined the units in each block, all that you need to do, you multiply the units with the tariffs that are given in each block. Once you've done that, guys, you just add them up together to get what the total cost is going to be, right? In this question, I took it a step higher. I included VAT because VAT is very important, guys, okay? This is a very important concept. So I included VAT, okay, because in the table, VAT was excluded. In this question, you need to include VAT, okay, in your final answer. So all that we needed to do is just calculate what the consumption will be, excluding VAT. Once you've got what the consumption is, excluding, once you get what the total cost of consumption will be, excluding VAT, you will obviously need to add your VAT amount, right? So remember this amazing table, right? This amazing. You need to remember this, okay? Amount including VAT is 115%. Your VAT amount is 15%. Amount excluding VAT will be the 115% minus 15%. Then you just apply that. You take the amount of 417.88, multiplied by what you want, divided by what you have. What are we looking for? What are we trying to find? We are trying to find the amount excluding VAT, okay? So, amount including VAT. So you multiply by 115%, divided by what do you have? You've got an amount that excludes your VAT, okay? And then you will get your final answer. I hope this video tutorial, guys, was a great help. We have done electricity tariffs, dealing with the flat rate. We've done electricity tariffs, dealing with the sliding scale. Look at this video tutorial, guys, to get more practice on electricity tariffs that deal with your flat rate, okay? And also in that video tutorial, guys, I discussed that you get two meter systems, the prepaid meter system, your postpaid meter system. When you're charged using the postpaid meter system, what do you do? When you're charged with the prepaid meter system, how do you approach that question? So this video tutorial, guys, very important. Please check it out for practice. I love it for you guys, okay? Please practice using that video tutorial, guys. And in this video tutorial, we dealt with the sliding scale, okay? So we've basically tackled electricity tariffs at this point, okay? So when we're going through past papers now, I'll be referring you guys to these video tutorials. Check out this video tutorial. Check out this video tutorial to practice, because I believe that now we've covered those concepts and you should be able to now go into your past papers with full knowledge when it comes to these concepts. Homework activity. Very odd, I know, for a YouTube channel to give homework, but that's exactly what we're doing here. Please take a screenshot of this, right, guys? This is our homework for tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be uploading a video tutorial where I basically go through this homework activity with you guys. It's very nice because in this homework activity, guys, the tariff is in cents per kilowatt hours. So what do you do when it's in cents? You need to convert those cents into rands. So I'll be dissecting this video tutorial, breaking it down into pieces, right, with you guys. So please make sure that you do the homework. Try it on your own. See if you can do it on your own. And I'll see you guys on my next upload. That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.